On a muggy evening in Laurelton, Virginia, on August 12, 2024, Marcus Ellison jogged along the quiet streets of the town's west side, his sneakers pounding the cracked pavement. At 34, Marcus was lean and focused, his dark skin glistening with sweat under a gray tank top. Earbuds blasted jazz, Miles Davis, his go-to for clearing his mind. Laurelton, a town of 12,000 nestled in the Shenandoah Valley, was a place of tidy lawns, historic brick buildings, and a lingering sense of who belonged and who didn't. For Marcus, a black man who'd moved here 2 years ago, it was a temporary base, a place to lay low between assignments. His real life was in D.C., where he worked as an FBI special agent, investigating financial crimes. But tonight, he was just a guy out for a run, blending into the dusk. Marcus had grown up in Baltimore, navigating a world where his skin made him a target, cops tailing him as a teen, teachers assuming he'd fail, strangers clutching purses when he passed. He'd clawed his way out, earning a degree in criminology, then a badge. The FBI was his shield, proof he'd beaten the odds, but it didn't erase the weight of being black in America. In Laurelton, he kept a low profile, renting a modest duplex on Cedar Avenue, avoiding the local bars where stares followed him. His neighbors, mostly white, were polite but distant, their smiles tight. He'd heard whispers, "What's he doing here?" but ignored them. His job taught him to stay sharp, not paranoid. As Marcus turned onto Maple Street, a residential stretch with picket fences and porch lights flickering on, he didn't notice the police cruiser idling at the corner. Inside were officers Daniel Hargrove, 42, and Tyler Reese, 29, both white, both born and raised in Laurelton. Hargrove, a veteran with a buzz cut and a permanent scowl, had a reputation for keeping order. Reese, newer to the force, followed his lead, eager to prove himself. They'd been patrolling the west side, responding to a vague call about suspicious activity near a pharmacy break-in 2 streets over. The description was thin. No race, no height, just male, athletic, dark clothing. To Hargrove, Marcus fit the bill. The cruiser pulled out, its headlights cutting through the twilight. Marcus, lost in his music, didn't hear the engine until it was close. He glanced over his shoulder, saw the car pacing him, and slowed to a walk, pulling out an earbud. His pulse quickened, but he kept his face neutral. He'd been here before, stopped in Baltimore, questioned in D.C., always the same script. Stay calm, hands visible, no sudden moves. The cruiser stopped, and Hargrove leaned out the window, his voice sharp. "Hey, you!" "Hold up." Marcus stopped, hands raised slightly. "Evening, officer," he said, his tone even. "Just out for a run." The street was quiet, a dog barking in the distance, a curtain twitching in a nearby house. Hargrove stepped out, his hand resting on his holster. Reese followed, his eyes darting between Marcus and the empty street. "Got a call about a break-in," Hargrove said, sizing Marcus up. "You live around here?" His tone wasn't a question, it was a challenge. "Yes, sir," Marcus said, keeping his hands in view. "Cedar Avenue, about a mile back." He knew better than to reach for his wallet. Not yet. Hargrove's eyes narrowed, catching the sweat on Marcus's shirt, the darkness of his skin. "What's your name?" he demanded. "Marcus Ellison," he replied, his voice steady. "I can show you my ID if you need it." He moved slowly, pointing to his pocket, but Hargrove's hand tightened on his gun. "Keep your hands where I can see them," he barked. Reese shifted, his own hand hovering near his taser. Marcus froze, his heart pounding. He knew the math, one wrong move, and this could end badly. "You match the description," Hargrove said, stepping closer. "Male, athletic, dark clothes. You been near the pharmacy on Oak?" His voice was accusatory, his eyes locked on Marcus like he'd already decided the answer. "No, sir," Marcus said, his jaw tight. "I've been running my usual route. Haven't been near Oak." He kept his gaze steady, meeting Hargrove's eyes, but he felt the trap closing. The description was a catch-all, vague enough to justify anything. He'd seen it in his FBI work, profiles that weren't profiles, just excuses to stop black men. Reese spoke up, his voice less certain. "You got anything on you? Weapons? Anything we should know about?" Marcus shook his head. "Just my phone and keys." He wanted to mention his badge, the FBI ID in his wallet, but Hargrove's posture, hand on gun, body angled, screamed escalation. Saying "I'm FBI" now could sound like a lie, a defiance, and Marcus knew how that played out. "Turn around, hands on your head," Hargrove ordered. Marcus's stomach dropped. "Officer, I haven't done anything," he said, his voice calm but firm. "I'm happy to show ID, answer questions." Hargrove's face hardened. "I said turn around, now!" Reese stepped forward, taser drawn, his eyes flicking to Hargrove for approval. Marcus complied, his movement slow, hands lacing behind his head. He faced the pavement, the cruiser's headlights blinding. Hargrove grabbed his wrists, yanking them down, and snapped on cuffs, the metal biting into Marcus's skin. "You're detaining me for what?" Marcus asked, his voice rising despite his training. "Jogging?" "For questioning," Hargrove snapped, pushing him toward the cruiser. "You're acting evasive." Reese opened the back door, his face uneasy but silent. Marcus's mind raced. Protocol, rights, the badge in his pocket, but anger burned through his calm. He was an FBI agent, damn it, and he was being cuffed for existing, but saying it now in cuffs could make things worse. He'd seen too many body cam videos, read too many reports. Black men didn't get the benefit of the doubt. As Hargrove patted him down, finding only the phone and keys, a small crowd gathered, neighbors peeking from porches, a teen on a bike filming with his phone. "What's he done?" an older woman called, her voice sharp. Hargrove ignored her, shoving Marcus into the cruiser's back seat. The door slammed, the sound final. Marcus sat, cuffed, his breath shallow. He thought of his partner in D.C., Agent Carla Ruiz, who'd laugh about his small-town getaway. She wouldn't laugh now. At the Laurelton police station, a squat brick building on Main Street, Marcus was led to a holding room, the cuffs still on. Hargrove and Reese sat across a metal table, Hargrove's scowl fixed, Reese fidgeting with a pen. "Let's try this again," Hargrove said. "What were you doing near the pharmacy?" "I wasn't," Marcus said, his voice ice. "I was running on Maple, like I said. You've got no probable cause for this." He leaned forward, his eyes locked on Hargrove's. "I'm a federal agent, FBI. My badge is in my wallet. Check it." Hargrove's smirk faltered, but he laughed, a cold bark. "FBI, sure, buddy. And I'm the president." Reese shifted, his eyes darting to Marcus's wallet on the table. "You got ID to back that up?" he asked, his voice less certain. "Check the wallet," Marcus said, his tone clipped. "Black leather, left pocket." Hargrove grabbed it, flipping it open. His face froze as he pulled out the FBI badge, the gold shield glinting under the fluorescent lights. Marcus's photo, name, and title, Special Agent Marcus Ellison, stared back. Reese's pen stopped moving, his mouth slightly open. Hargrove's smirk vanished, replaced by a flush of red creeping up his neck. "You're FBI?" Reese said, his voice small. Hargrove tossed the badge on the table, his eyes narrowing. "Could be fake," he muttered, but his voice lacked conviction. Marcus leaned back, his cuffed hands aching. "Call the DC field office," he said. "Ask for Supervisory Agent Carla Ruiz. She'll confirm." His tone was calm now, but inside he was seething. This wasn't just a mistake, it was a script, one he'd lived too many times. Hargrove hesitated, then nodded to Reese, who scrambled out to make the call. The room was silent, Hargrove avoiding Marcus's gaze, his fingers tapping the table. Marcus stared at the badge, a symbol of everything he'd fought for, now a lifeline in a room that smelled of coffee and fear. He thought of his mom in Baltimore, who'd cried when he got into the FBI. She'd warned him, "No badge will make you safe." She was right. Reese returned, his face pale. "It's real," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "Agent Ruiz confirmed. He's been with the Bureau 6 years." Hargrove's jaw clenched, but he uncuffed Marcus, the metal clinking as it fell. "Misunderstanding," he muttered, not meeting Marcus's eyes. "You're free to go." Marcus rubbed his wrists, his anger a tight coil. "Misunderstanding," he said, his voice low. "You cuffed me for jogging. No probable cause, no evidence. You profiled me." Hargrove's flush deepened, but he said nothing. Reese looked at the floor, his pen still in hand. Marcus grabbed his badge and wallet, standing. "This isn't over," he said, his eyes locked on Hargrove's. "You'll hear from me." He walked out, the station's fluorescent buzz fading behind him. Outside, the night air was thick, the town's quiet a lie. He called Carla, his voice steady as he briefed her. "I'm fine," he lied. "But I need a favor. Get me internal affairs." Carla's voice was sharp. "On it, Marcus. They messed with the wrong guy." As he walked home, the teen's video was already online, posted to a local group. "Cops cuffed black man for running." Comments were piling up, some outraged, others defending the police. Marcus didn't read them. He thought of the neighbors watching, the woman who'd spoken up, the badge that saved him but shouldn't have had to. He was an FBI agent, but tonight, he was just another black man in the wrong place, wrong time. And he was done letting it slide. On August 13, 2024, Marcus Ellison woke in his duplex on Cedar Avenue, Laurelton, Virginia, his wrists still sore from the handcuffs that had bitten into them the previous night. The memory of Officer Daniel Hargrove's scowl and the police cruiser's stale air lingered like a bad dream. But Marcus was wide awake, his anger a steady burn. He was an FBI special agent, a 6-year veteran who'd taken down money launderers and fraud rings. Yet last night he'd been cuffed for jogging, profiled, detained, dismissed as just another black man in a town that didn't trust him. His badge had gotten him out, but it hadn't erased the humiliation or the truth. In Laurelton, his skin was a crime scene. Marcus sat at his kitchen table, a mug of black coffee cooling as he checked his phone. The teen's video of his detention, posted to a local Facebook group, had exploded overnight. 8,000 views, hundreds of comments, and shares spreading beyond Laurelton. "Cops cuff black man for running," the caption read, with shaky footage showing Hargrove shoving Marcus into the cruiser. Comments ranged from outrage, "This is racism, plain and simple," to defense of the police. He looked suspicious, they were doing their job. Marcus's stomach churned as he scrolled, seeing his name tagged, his face frozen in the video's frame. He wasn't just Marcus anymore, he was a flashpoint. His partner, Agent Carla Ruiz, called at 7 a.m., her voice sharp with worry. "You okay, Marcus? I chewed out the DC desk for not having your back last night. Internal Affairs is looped in, and I've got a contact at the DOJ's Civil Rights Division. What do you want to do?" Marcus rubbed his temples, the weight of her words sinking in. "File a formal complaint," he said. "Hargrove and Reese violated protocol. No probable cause, excessive force. I want their badges reviewed." Carla's pause was brief. "Done. But Marcus, this video's going viral. Laurelton's gonna feel the heat. Watch your six." Marcus knew she was right. Laurelton was small, its police force tight-knit, its white majority quick to close ranks. He'd seen it in the neighbors' tight smiles, the way shopkeepers watched him. Filing a complaint as an FBI agent would make waves, but it also painted a target on his back. He thought of his mom in Baltimore, her warning about badges not keeping him safe. She'd been right, but he wasn't backing down. This wasn't just about him, it was about every black man cuffed for no reason, every name in a report he'd read at the Bureau. By noon, Marcus drove to the Laurelton police station to file his complaint, his FBI badge in his pocket like armor. The station's lobby was stark, smelling of bleach and old coffee. A desk sergeant, a middle-aged white woman named Linda Brooks, took his statement, her eyes widening when she saw his credentials. "Agent Ellison," she said, her voice cautious. "I'll pass this to Chief Warren. He'll want to speak with you." Marcus nodded, his face neutral. "Tell him I'm not going away." As he left, he felt eyes on him. Officers in the hall, their whispers low but sharp. Outside, Marcus noticed a news van from a Richmond station parked across the street, a reporter interviewing a local. The video was spreading, and with it, Laurelton's dirty laundry. He kept his head down, driving back to Cedar Avenue, but his phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "You're making a mistake, Fed." His pulse quickened, but he saved the message for Carla. Evidence was his weapon now. At home, Marcus found a note slipped under his door. "Leave town, boy." The words were scrawled in black marker, the paper cheap and creased. His hands shook as he bagged it for the FBI's evidence team, his anger flaring. This wasn't Hargrove, too sloppy, but it was someone close, someone emboldened by the video's backlash. He called Carla, who promised to expedite a threat assessment. "Stay somewhere else tonight," she said. "I'm sending a field agent to back you up." Marcus agreed, packing a bag for a motel on the edge of town. Laurelton wasn't safe anymore, but running wasn't an option. On August 14th, the story hit regional news. The Richmond Times-Dispatch ran a piece. "FBI agent detained in Laurelton, alleges racial profiling." The article quoted Marcus's complaint and the viral video, naming Hargrove and Reese. Chief Tom Warren, a grizzled white man in his 50s, issued a statement. "The Laurelton PD is investigating the incident. We take all allegations seriously." But comments online told a different story. Locals defended the officers, claiming Marcus escalated the situation, while others demanded Hargrove's badge. Hash justice for Marcus trended alongside Hashback the Blue, splitting the town like a fault line. Marcus's neighbor, Mrs. Evelyn Carter, a 70-year-old black woman who'd lived in Laurelton for decades, knocked on his door that morning. "Saw the news," she said, her voice soft but firm. "You stirred the hornet's nest, son. Be careful, this town doesn't like being called out." She handed him a plate of cornbread, a small gesture that warmed him. "We're with you," she added, nodding toward her house, where her grandson waved. Marcus thanked her, but her warning stuck. He was an agent, trained to handle threats, but this was personal, a town turning on him for daring to exist. At work, Marcus's supervisory agent David Kim, called him into a virtual meeting. "You're within your rights to pursue this," Kim said, his tone measured. But the Bureau's watching. Keep it clean, Marcus. No vigilante stuff. Marcus nodded, though frustration gnawed at him. The FBI was his life, but its caution felt like a leash. He wanted justice, not just for himself, but for the kid filming, the neighbors watching, the names he'd never know. Kim assigned him a temporary desk job in D.C., citing safety concerns. But Marcus knew it was to keep him out of Laurelton's spotlight. He agreed, but only until the complaint was resolved. On August 15th, Marcus met with Chief Warren at the station, Carla joining via video call for support. Warren, his face lined with stress, offered a half apology. "If there was a misunderstanding, we'll address it," he said, avoiding Marcus's eyes. "Hargrove's on desk duty pending review." Marcus leaned forward, his voice steady. "It wasn't a misunderstanding, it was profiling. I want accountability, training, policy changes, not just a slap on the wrist." Warren's jaw tightened, but he nodded. "We're cooperating with internal affairs. Let's keep this professional." As Marcus left, he saw Hargrove in the station's parking lot, leaning against a cruiser, his eyes locked on Marcus. The look wasn't regret, it was defiance. Marcus held his gaze, his badge heavy in his pocket, and walked away. But that evening, his motel room's window was smashed, a rock lying on the carpet with no note. Marcus called Carla, who escalated it to the FBI's threat team. "This is retaliation," she said, her voice tight. "We're sending agents to Laurelton tomorrow." On August 16th, a small protest formed outside the station. 30 people, mostly Black and Latino residents, holding signs. "Stop profiling. Justice for Marcus. Mrs." Carter was there, her grandson beside her, chanting softly. The teen who'd filmed the video, Jamal, 17, spoke to a reporter, his voice shaking but clear. "I saw it happen. They didn't care who he was." Counter-protesters, mostly white, gathered across the street, their signs reading, "Support our police." Marcus watched the news from his motel, his chest tight. He hadn't wanted this, a divided town, his name a hashtag, but he couldn't stop now. That night, Marcus got a call from Jamal's mom, Tanya, her voice panicked. "Someone spray-painted snitch on our garage," she said. "Jamal's scared. This is because of your video." Marcus's heart sank. He promised to connect her with Carla for protection, guilt gnawing at him. His fight was rippling, hurting others, but Tanya's next words steadied him. "Keep going, Marcus. You're doing what we can." He hung up, staring at the motel's peeling wallpaper, his resolve hardening. This was bigger than him now. On August 17th, 2024, Marcus Ellison sat in a cramped motel room on the outskirts of Laurelton, Virginia, the hum of the air conditioner barely masking the tension in his chest. The rock that had smashed his window 2 nights ago lay in an evidence bag sent to the FBI's Richmond field office. But its message, "No note needed," echoed the threats piling up. "Leave town, boy. You're making a mistake, Fed." Marcus, a 34-year-old, Black FBI special agent, was no stranger to pressure, but this was different. In Laurelton, his badge was both a shield and a target. His wrongful detention for jogging now, a viral flashpoint splitting the town of 12,000. The video, 8 seconds of Officer Daniel Hargrove cuffing him on Maple Street, had 20,000 views, fueling protests and hate in equal measure. Marcus's phone buzzed with a call from Agent Carla Ruiz, his partner in D.C. "Internal Affairs is moving fast," she said, her voice clipped. "They're reviewing Hargrove and Reese's records. Hargrove's got prior complaints, all swept under the rug. The DOJ's sniffing around too, thanks to the video. But Marcus, someone's leaking your address. We found it on a local forum. You need to stay low." Marcus's jaw tightened. He'd moved to the motel for safety, but Laurelton's anger was a heat wave, inescapable. "I'm not hiding," he said, his voice steady. "Get me a meeting with the chief. I want answers." Carla sighed. "Already set for tomorrow, with an IA investigator present. But watch your back. Hargrove's got friends, and they're pissed." Marcus thanked her, his eyes on the motel's drawn curtains. He thought of Jamal, the teen who'd filmed the video, now facing snitch graffiti on his family's garage. He thought of Mrs. Carter, the neighbor who'd brought cornbread, warning him about Laurelton's hornet's nest. His fight was rippling, pulling others into its wake, and the guilt was a knot in his gut. That morning, Marcus drove to a Richmond coffee shop to meet FBI agent Lisa Harper, an internal affairs investigator sent to handle his complaint. Lisa, a white woman in her 40s with a no-nonsense stare, slid a file across the table. "Hargrove's got a history," she said. 3 excessive force complaints since 2019. All Black men, all dismissed for lack of evidence. Reese is clean but follows Hargrove's lead. We're pulling body cam footage, but Laurelton's dragging its feet. Marcus nodded, his wrists still aching from the cuffs. They profiled me, he said. No probable cause, vague description. It's not just Hargrove, it's the system here. Lisa's eyes softened, but her voice was firm. We're building a case, but it's slow. The video's helping, public pressure's forcing their hand. You're okay testifying if it comes to that? Marcus met her gaze. I'm ready. He handed her the bagged note from his door and the screenshot of the leaked address. This is retaliation, he said. Someone's trying to scare me off. Lisa's jaw tightened. We're tracing the forum post. Stay at the motel, Marcus. We've got agents patrolling. Back in Laurelton, the town was a powder keg. On August 18th, the protest outside the police station grew. 50 people now chanting, "No justice, no peace," and holding signs with Marcus's name. Jamal's mom, Tanya, spoke to the crowd, her voice fierce. My son filmed the truth, and now we're targeted. This town needs to wake up. Mrs. Carter was there, her grandson waving a stop profiling sign. Across the street, counter-protesters, mostly white, some wearing back the blue hats, shouted back, their signs reading law and order. A local news crew filmed it all, the divide stark under the noon sun. Marcus watched the coverage from his motel, his heart heavy. He hadn't wanted this, a town split, Jamal's family harassed, but Tanya's words echoed, keep going. He checked the local Facebook group, where the video had 30,000 views. A new post caught his eye from an account called Laurelton Truth. Ellison's a Fed stirring up trouble. He's no victim. Comments piled up, some calling Marcus a race baiter, others sharing his duplex's address again. His phone buzzed with another threat. Feds don't scare us. He forwarded it to Lisa, his anger a tight coil. This wasn't just Hargrove's doing. Someone was organizing, rallying the town's worst. On August 19th, Marcus met Chief Tom Warren and Lisa at the Laurelton police station, a DOJ observer joining via video. Warren's office was cluttered, a photo of him shaking hands with the mayor on the wall. Agent Ellison, Warren said, his voice strained, we're cooperating fully. Hargrove and Reese are suspended pending investigation. We're reviewing policies. His eyes flicked to Lisa, avoiding Marcus. Can we resolve this quietly? Marcus leaned forward, his voice ice. Quietly? I was cuffed for jogging, Chief. My address is online, my motel's vandalized, a kid's family is targeted for filming it. This isn't quiet, it's systemic. I want Hargrove's badge, Reese retrained, and a public apology. Lisa nodded, adding, we're recommending mandatory bias training and a DOJ audit of your department's stops. The evidence, video, complaints, Marcus's testimony is damning. Warren's face reddened, but he nodded. We'll comply. As Marcus left, he saw Officer Reese in the hall, his face pale, eyes down. Hargrove was nowhere, but Marcus felt his presence, a shadow in the station's walls. That evening, the retaliation struck harder. Marcus returned to the motel to find his truck's windshield smashed, a brick on the driver's seat with "Fed Pig" carved into it. He called Lisa, who sent FBI agents to secure the scene. This is coordinated, she said, her voice grim. We're cross-referencing the forum posts with Hargrove's known associates. Marcus's hands shook as he bagged the brick, his training warring with his fear. He was an agent, but Laurelton saw him as a threat, not a protector. On August 20th, a breakthrough came. Lisa called. We traced the Laurelton Truth account to a local mechanic, Brian Tate, Hargrove's cousin. He's behind the address leaks and some threats. We're bringing him in. Marcus exhaled, relief mixing with dread. Tate's arrest might slow the harassment, but it wouldn't stop the town's anger. The protests grew, 100 people now, with white allies joining, chanting Marcus's name. A community group, led by Tanya and Mrs. Carter, organized a town hall for August 22nd to demand police reform. Marcus agreed to speak, though Carla warned him, it's a risk. Hargrove still got pull. That night, Marcus met Jamal at a diner, wanting to check on him. The teen's eyes were tired, his bravado gone. They keep calling our house, Jamal said, stirring his soda. Mom's scared, but she says you're a hero. Marcus's throat tightened. You're the hero, kid. That video changed everything. He gave Jamal his card, promising FBI protection. As they parted, Jamal hugged him, a quick, fierce embrace that steadied Marcus's resolve. On August 21st, Marcus found a new note under his motel door. Tate's just the start. Back off! His heart raced, but he bagged it for Lisa, his anger outweighing his fear. He thought of his mum, her pride in his badge, and Tanya's words. Keep going. Laurelton was a battleground, but Marcus was trained for battles. He wasn't just fighting for himself. He was fighting for Jamal, Mrs. Carter, every black face in the crowd. He called Carla, his voice firm. "Get me security for the town hall. I'm speaking and I'm not holding back." On August 22, 2024, Marcus Ellison stood backstage at the Laurelton Community Center, his heart pounding as he adjusted the collar of his button-down shirt. The town hall, organized by Tanya Williams and Mrs. Evelyn Carter, buzzed with over 200 people, Black, Latino, and white residents, news crews from Richmond, and a dozen protesters outside, their "Back the Blue" signs clashing with "Justice for Marcus" banners. Marcus, a 34-year-old black FBI special agent, was set to speak about his wrongful detention on August 12th, when Officer Daniel Hargrove cuffed him for jogging, mistaking him for a burglary suspect. The viral video, now with 50,000 views, had turned Laurelton into a battleground, exposing its racism and forcing a reckoning. But the threats, "Leave town, boy," "Fed pig" carved on a brick, hung over Marcus like a storm cloud, and tonight felt like the breaking point. Agent Carla Ruiz, stationed in the crowd with 2 FBI agents for security, texted Marcus, "We've got eyes on the room. Stay sharp." The FBI's Internal Affairs and DOJ's Civil Rights Division were closing in on Hargrove and Officer Tyler Reese, with Brian Tate, Hargrove's cousin, already charged for leaking Marcus's address and sending threats. But Laurelton's anger burned hot, and Marcus knew speaking tonight risked everything: his safety, his career, the fragile hope of change. He thought of Jamal, the teen whose video sparked this, now hiding from snitch graffiti. He thought of Mrs. Carter, her cornbread a lifeline. This wasn't just his fight anymore. Tanya opened the town hall, her voice steady as she introduced the speakers, community leaders, a pastor, and Marcus. The crowd was tense, some clapping, others whispering, a few white men in the back glaring. Mrs. Carter spoke first, her voice fierce despite her age. "I've lived here 50 years, seen black folks harassed, ignored, blamed. Marcus is us and we're done being silent." The applause was loud, but boos from the back cut through, a reminder of Laurelton's divide. When Marcus took the stage, the room hushed. His badge was in his pocket, but tonight he was more than an agent. He was a black man, a son, a survivor. "On August 12th, I was jogging," he began, his voice clear. "Officers Hargrove and Reese cuffed me. No evidence, no cause, just a vague description. I'm an FBI agent, but that night, I was just a black man in the wrong place. This isn't new. It's Laurelton's story, America's story. I'm here to say, it stops now." He paused, his eyes sweeping the crowd. "I'm not leaving, I'm fighting. For me, for Jamal, for you." The room erupted, cheers drowning out the boos. Tanya hugged him as he stepped off, but Marcus saw a man in a "Back the Blue" cap, later identified as Greg Walsh, a friend of Hargrove's, shouting, "You're tearing this town apart!" Walsh shoved forward, knocking over a chair, and Carla's agents moved in, escorting him out. The chaos was brief, but Marcus's pulse raced. Mia's video of his speech, live-streamed, hit 10,000 views in an hour, with #JusticeForMarcus trending nationally. On August 23rd, the FBI's investigation bore fruit. Agent Lisa Harper called Marcus. "Hargrove's done. IA found body cam footage. He turned it off during your stop, but Reese's caught him saying he looks like trouble. Combined with his prior complaints, he's being fired. Reese is suspended, facing retraining. The DOJ's pushing for a department-wide audit." Marcus exhaled, relief tempered by reality. "What about Tate and the threats?" he asked. Lisa's voice hardened. "Tate's pleading guilty to harassment. We're tracing the latest notes to Walsh. You've got a protection detail now." The news broke that day. The Richmond Times-Dispatch headlining, "Laurelton officer fired after FBI agent's detention." Protests swelled. 150 people outside the station, demanding reform, while counter-protesters dwindled, their "Back the Blue" signs sparser. Tanya's community group launched a petition for bias training, gaining 2,000 signatures. Mrs. Carter's grandson, Malik, started a youth coalition inspired by Jamal's video. Marcus watched it unfold from the motel, his chest tight with pride and exhaustion. He'd won a battle, but the war, Laurelton's racism, his own scars, wasn't over. On August 24th, retaliation struck. Marcus's duplex, empty since he'd moved to the motel, was vandalized. Windows smashed, "Traitor" spray-painted in red. The FBI's protection detail caught a suspect, a 19-year-old named Dylan Carter, no relation to Mrs. Carter, linked to Walsh. Dylan confessed, naming Walsh as the ringleader. Lisa called, Walsh is in custody, charged with incitement and vandalism. We're tightening your security. Marcus nodded, but the paint, the glass, the word traitor burned in his mind. He was an agent trained to stay calm, but Laurelton was testing his limits. On August 25th, Marcus met Jamal and Tanya at a park, wanting to thank them. Jamal's eyes were brighter, though his voice was quiet. "People at school are talking," he said. "Some call me a hero, some say I'm trouble, but I'd film it again." Marcus smiled, handing him a card for a youth FBI program. "You're trouble for the right reasons, kid." Tanya hugged Marcus, her voice fierce. "You gave us a voice." "Don't stop." Their trust steadied him, a reminder of why he'd fought. That evening, Marcus spoke with his mom in Baltimore via video call. "You scared me, baby," she said, her eyes wet. "But I'm proud. You're changing things." Marcus's throat tightened. "I'm trying, Ma, but it's heavy." She nodded, her voice soft. "You're carrying our history. Keep going." He hung up, her words a spark in the dark. On August 26th, Chief Warren issued a public apology at a press conference, flanked by DOJ officials. "The Laurelton PD failed Agent Ellison," he said, his voice stiff. "We're implementing bias training and cooperating with the DOJ audit." Hargrove's firing was confirmed, Reese's suspension extended. The crowd, now 200, with white allies prominent, cheered, though a few back the blue hecklers lingered. Marcus watched online, his motel room dim. It was a victory, but the threats hadn't stopped. A new text that morning read, "You can't hide forever." He forwarded it to Lisa, his resolve unshaken. On August 27th, Marcus made a decision. The FBI offered to reassign him to DC permanently, citing Laurelton's risks. He accepted, but not to run. "I'll come back," he told Carla. "This town needs to know I'm not scared." He leased his duplex to Tanya's cousin, a young black teacher, ensuring Cedar Avenue stayed diverse. At a final community meeting, he spoke to 300 people, his voice steady. "I'm leaving, but not quitting. Laurelton's changing because of you, Jamal, Tanya, Mrs. Carter. Keep pushing." On August 28th, Marcus drove out of Laurelton, his truck packed, the Shenandoah Valley fading in his rear view. The threats, the paint, the cuffs, they'd left scars. But so had the cheers, the petition, Jamal's hug. He was Marcus Ellison, Ugambe man, FBI agent, and Laurelton would remember him. In DC, he'd keep fighting cases, systems, history, because wrong men, wrong times deserve justice. His phone buzzed with a text from Jamal. "Thanks, hero." Marcus smiled, the road ahead wide, and kept driving. On August 22nd, 2024, Marcus Ellison stood at the edge of the Laurelton Community Center stage, his pulse hammering as the crowd of 250 packed the room, their energy a mix of hope and rage. The town hall, sparked by Tanya Williams and Mrs. Evelyn Carter, was a powder keg. Black and Latino residents, white allies, news crews from Richmond, and a knot of Back the Blue protesters outside, their signs dwarfed by Justice for Marcus banners. Marcus, a 34-year-old black FBI special agent, was about to speak about his August 12th detention when Officer Daniel Hargrove cuffed him for jogging, profiling him as a burglary suspect. The viral video, now with 60,000 views, had ripped Laurelton's facade apart, exposing its racism and igniting a fight Marcus never wanted but couldn't walk away from. Threats, "Leave town, boy," "Fed pig" carved on a brick followed him, but tonight he'd face the town head-on. Agent Carla Ruiz, posted in the crowd with 3 FBI agents for security, whispered through Marcus's earpiece, "We've got Walsh in our sights. Stay focused." Greg Walsh, Hargrove's friend, had been linked to the latest threats, and Brian Tate, Hargrove's cousin, was already charged for leaking Marcus's address. The FBI's Internal Affairs and DOJ's Civil Rights Division were tightening the noose, but Laurelton's anger burned brighter, and Marcus knew this speech could light the fuse. He thought of Jamal, the 17-year-old whose video started this, now dodging snitch graffiti. He thought of Mrs. Carter, her cornbread a quiet strength. This was their fight, too. Tanya kicked off the town hall, her voice ablade. "We're here because Laurelton failed Marcus, failed us. No more silence." Mrs. Carter followed, her words afire. "I've seen this town chew up black lives for 50 years. Marcus is our line in the sand." The crowd roared, but boos from the back. Walsh and his crew cut through. Marcus stepped up, his FBI badge in his pocket, but his voice was pure Laurelton, pure Baltimore, pure black. "On August 12th, I was jogging," he said, eyes sweeping the room. "Hargrove and Reese cuffed me, no reason, just my skin. I'm an FBI agent, but that night I was every black man stopped, searched, silenced. This ends here. We demand justice, accountability, reform, a town that sees us." The applause was thunder, but Walsh surged forward, shouting, "You're a liar, Fed! You're ruining our cops!" He threw a water bottle, missing Marcus but hitting a chair. Carla's agents tackled Walsh, dragging him out as the crowd screamed. Tanya grabbed the mic, her voice steady. "That's what they want, chaos. We're better. We're louder." Marcus's speech, live-streamed by Jamal, hit 15,000 views in minutes. #Justice for Marcus blazing across platforms. On August 23rd, the FBI struck. Agent Lisa Harper called Marcus. Hargroves fired. Body cam audio caught him calling you trouble before the stop, violating protocol. His prior complaints, 3 black men, all buried, sealed it. Reese is suspended, retraining mandatory. The DOJ's auditing Laurelton PD's stop data. Marcus's chest loosened, but he pressed. "Tate? Walsh?" Lisa's voice was grim. "Tate's pleading guilty to harassment. Walsh is charged with incitement and assault for the bottle. We're digging for more." The news dropped like a bomb. The Richmond Times-Dispatch screamed, "Laurelton officer fired after FBI agent's profiling scandal." Protests swelled. 200 outside the station. Black and white voices united, chanting, "No more profiling." Tanya's petition for bias training hit 3,000 signatures, and Malik misses. Carter's grandson launched a youth group, Laurelton Rising, inspired by Jamal. But backlash roared. Marcus's duplex was hit again. Race traitor scrawled on the door. The FBI arrested a teen, Dylan Carter, who named Walsh as the mastermind. Marcus, holed up in a motel, felt the weight. Every win came with a new scar. On August 24th, Marcus met Chief Tom Warren, who offered a strained apology. "We failed you, Agent Ellison. Hargrove's gone, reforms are coming." Marcus didn't flinch. "Words aren't enough. Train your officers, audit your stops, or the DOJ will do it for you." Warren nodded, sweat on his brow, as Lisa added, "The audit's non-negotiable. We're watching." Outside, Marcus saw Reese, his face ashen, avoiding eye contact. Hargrove was a ghost, but his shadow lingered in Laurelton streets. On August 25th, the retaliation peaked. Marcus's motel room was broken into, his laptop stolen, a note left on the bed. "You're done." The FBI's protection detail swept the scene, linking the break-in to a known associate of Walsh's, arrested hours later. Lisa called. "We've got enough to bury Walsh. Conspiracy, harassment, vandalism. You're safe, but stay vigilant." Marcus's hands shook as he bagged the note, his anger a wildfire. He was an agent, trained to take down kingpins, but Laurelton's small-town hate was a beast of its own. On August 26th, Marcus decided to face it head-on. Tanya's group planned a final rally, Laurelton Reborn, set for August 28th at the town square. Marcus would speak, not as an agent but as a man, alongside Jamal, Tanya, and Malik. Carla warned him, "It's a risk. Walsh's crew is quiet, but they're not gone." Marcus nodded, his voice firm. "I'm not running. This town needs to see us." He called his mom in Baltimore, her voice a lifeline. "You're carrying us all, baby. Don't stop." Her pride fueled him, a spark against the dark. On August 28th, the rally drew 500, half the town it seemed, under a blazing Virginia sun. The square was alive with signs, music, and voices, black, white, Latino, united. Tanya spoke first, her words a call. "We're rebuilding Laurelton, starting with truth." Jamal took the mic, his voice cracking but strong. "I filmed Marcus because it was right. This is our town too." The crowd cheered, and Malik, just 15, led a chant. "Laurelton Rising." Marcus stepped up last, his eyes scanning faces. Mrs. Carter, Tanya, strangers who'd become family. "Laurelton tried to break me," he said, his voice ablade. "Cuffs, threats, paint on my door. But I'm still here because you are. Jamal's video wasn't just mine, it was ours, a mirror to this town's soul. Hargrove's gone. Reforms are coming, but it's not enough. Share this story. Make it loud. Let every town know we're not invisible, we're not silent, we're unstoppable." He raised a fist, and the crowd roared, a wave of sound that shook the square. Jamal, grinning, held up his phone, live streaming to thousands. "Like this, share it, join us. Laurelton's just the start." As Marcus stepped off, a figure lunged from the edge. Walsh, out on bail, his face twisted with rage. "You ruined everything!" he screamed, swinging a fist. Marcus, reflexes sharp, dodged, and Carla's agents tackled Walsh, cuffs snapping on as the crowd gasped. The moment, caught on Jamal's stream, went viral. 100,000 views in hours. #Laurelton Reborn, trending worldwide. Walsh's arrest, charged with attempted assault, was the final nail in his crew's coffin. On August 29th, Chief Warren announced sweeping reforms, mandatory bias training, a civilian review board, and DOJ oversight. Hargrove's firing was permanent. Reese reassigned to desk work. Tanya's group secured funding for a community center named Ellison House in Marcus's honor. Marcus, back in D.C., accepted a promotion to lead an FBI task force on civil rights violations, but he leased his duplex to Jamal's cousin, ensuring Laurelton's west side stayed diverse. On August 30th, Marcus stood on his mom's Baltimore porch, her arms around him. "You changed that town," she said, tears in her eyes. He smiled, thinking of Jamal's stream, Tanya's fire, the crowd's roar. "They changed me," he said. His phone buzzed, a message from Jamal. "Videos at 1 million, we're blowing up. Keep fighting, hero." Marcus laughed, the weight of Laurelton lifting, replaced by a fire to keep going. He wasn't just an agent, he was a voice, and the world was listening. Laurelton wasn't fixed. Threats lingered, some hearts stayed hard, but Marcus had cracked its shell. He'd be back, not to run, but to remind them. Wrong man, wrong time, right fight. And that fight, his, Jamal's, yours, was just beginning.